Hello Pedro, thank you for being here. I would like to have a conversation on the terroirs of Mendoza, and I would like to ask you for your vision of what kind of wines can be produced in this region.
Perfect. Great to be here in Mendoza, and let's go.
Traditionally, Mendoza has been known for Malbec and altitude.
Yes.
What's your opinion on this and the influence of altitude and terroir on our wine?
You know, when I started to work in Mendoza in 2007, that was my first year working and coming here to Mendoza, and I realized that at the moment the history that was really told was, you know, great wines come from altitude and comes from old vines. What can be for sure? Nobody argues that old vines are much interesting than young vines. But now if you look at the top wines, the top iconic wines coming from Mendoza today, you will realize that there are few that are coming really from old vines. So it's quite, you know, it's a beautiful history, but I don't think that is really the history in the real term for what Mendoza terroir is. So it's a huge topic. Now we are 2013, and my experience is that there are many different situations and many different terroirs here in all the Mendoza and the Uco Valley.
And how do you compare the terroirs in the Valle de Uco area with the Mendoza River area?
All the Mendoza system is mainly created by the Mendoza River, but of course there's difference. You know, the Mendoza River and all the area here in Pedriel, Agrelo, or Luján, or wherever, are located far away from the Andes mountain range, far away in the scale that I am thinking. So that means from the origin of the river to the vineyard that we are in front here, you can expect 150 kilometers, 200 kilometers. That means that all the sand and the silt that really provide drainage to the soils stay up in the mountain. That's a big difference from the Uco Valley, where you are just in front of the Andes mountain range. So the flooding and the fluvial phenomenon is just quite short compared to this phenomenon. So in one word, I would say that this area, Pedriel, Luján, wherever here, you will be confronted with gravels, with some limestone, but with a soil that is melted with the gravel, that is mainly lime and clay, or clay and silt, or this kind of situation. So to be more simple for you, I would say this terroir is clay gravel. Mm-hmm. That means one kind of physiological stress for the vines, one kind of porosity in the soil, plus a climate that is warmer during the night will provide one typicity. And this typicity, in my opinion, is more related with the clay. Usually it's quite easy to understand that when you travel all around the world and you taste wines that come from clay, when they are really well worked, are very soft in terms of tannins, round, you know, they get volume. Usually they are more alcoholic and very sexy wines. Very easy drinking wines, you know. So this is a typicity that you will find here. You will find that in the Plateau of La Croix, in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and you will find that in many different places in the world. That are wines that come from clay. Seductive, easy drinking, not easy to grow up because the clay is complicated to irrigate, and is the main typicity that you will find for many of the Malbec. This typicity has been very successful, especially in the United States, but also it's a typicity that found difficulties to grow up into a more complex wine. Some really complex wines come from clay are made for sure in the world, like Petrus, or what happened in, I don't know, in the Clos Vougeot in Burgundy. But in general, if we can generalize, you will see that clay provides easy drinking wine, but they lack a little of complexity.
Can you compare now this with what happens in Valle de Uco?
It's the opposite. Valle de Uco is not about clay, it's about limestone. Valle de Uco is about big gravels and limestone. So the touch of clay that you will find in the Valle de Uco, this kind of very special clay, provide you some minerality to the wines, but the clay is mainly located in the stone. It's not located as soil. Soils in Valle de Uco are more sandy, are silty, and always melt with limestone. So the water holding capacity is quite different from the water holding capacity here. Climate is so different because during the night you will find really, really important cold temperatures. And so in terms of physiology, plant will react in a very different way. So climate is different because mainly because you are just in front of the Andes mountain range. I'm not so convinced that it's the altitude. For me, it's the altitude plus the fact that you are really in front of the Andes.
Maybe the altitude it's a consequence of the closeness to the mountains.
And you can be in La Consulta at 1,000 meters high. But here you are far away from the Andes mountain range, and La Consulta will be quite in front of the Andes mountain range. So it's an important topic. It's always complicated to separate climate from soil. You know, they are really related. What happens in one sense will affect the other sense. But Uco Valley is about limestone. Here, Luján, Agrelo, wherever, is about clay. And that are two different typicities on the wines. Also, it's quite well known that limestone usually provides the most complex, the most elegant wines all around the world. If you go to Barolo, if you go to Burgundy, if you go to Chablis, wherever you go, and you find limestone, Saint-Emilion, you reach another level of complexity. The main problem is that today the world is not expecting the complexity from Argentina, because they are really, really very happy with the simple wines that you provide as a big volume in the market. And it's not because there is not the complexity in the wines or the complexity in the terroir. It's because we need time to communicate that, to train people, and to bring people to the correct places. And also that will take time to us to understand how to improve our viticulture in the great and fantastic terroir that you will find here in the Uco Valley or even in Mendoza.
What is your, just to round up and close this conversation, what are the sub-regions in Uco Valley that you think are most promising for the future?
A lot of work to do still, but a lot of work done already. And I am quite impressed, you know. For me, today there are two leading places, for me by far. Maybe I'm making a mistake and I'm not wrong. I'm wrong on that, but for me today two regions are by far 1, 2, maybe 3 steps besides the other regions. Simply because they have the active limestone in the soils and the gravels are really fantastic. One will be Altamira, and Altamira is not a big place, you know, and the soils are fantastic. You can control vigor of the plants in a very easy way because you don't have so much clay in the soils, and the climate is quite cold because you are just in front of the Andes mountain range. For me, the other place that is fantastic is Gualtallarí, and Gualtallarí, which is a difficult name to pronounce, is Gualtallarí. It's another fantastic place. You get more altitude. Soils are also full of limestone. You will find different kind of limestone with less clay, more sand. So in a natural way, the vigor of the vines will be more controlled there. That means a more difficult work in terms of viticulture, because if you need more vigor, you will need to work in a very clever way, not adding nitrogen to the soils. It's the easy way and the worst way, and both are fantastic. Then you will have Tupungato, La Consulta, and Vistaflores. Tupungato is a big area yet, so there are many Tupungato terroirs. So you need to really have a more accurate work in order to separate what would be what I used to call the high Tupungato, the medium Tupungato, and the low Tupungato. Strong difference between them. Vistaflores is the same because you will have Vistaflores in what I call the Coto de Vistaflores. That means where, for instance, Clos de los Siete is located, you know. That means that the soils are less alluvial, are more colluvial, and not in a flat terroir, but facing with a slope. So it's a different macro unit of terroir. Then you will find in Vistaflores the real Vistaflores in the flat area, which is a mix of many different phenomena, more complicated to work because it's very super heterogeneous. And there is a little Vistaflores where Lurton is located, where you will find limestone again in the soils, providing fantastic wine. But it's the less important area in terms of surface in the Vistaflores. So that would be so far. There are places, new places that should to be worked in terms of terroir to understand where are located. You know, Genio Bustos, all this area, less work has been done so far. So I hope in the future that will be done. But for me today, as a summary, I would say what I haría en Altamira, if I were milliardaire, I would be buying a property there.
Thank you, Pedro. I think it has been very instructive, and I hope these regions can show their potential in the future.
The region is already showing the potential. I have tasted in this trip some fantastic wines coming from both. So I'm quite confident on that.
Thank you very
much. Great to be here. Okay.